Time now for First Alert Weather with meteorologist Rob Niclole.
All right, we've got lots to look at with approaching Tropical Storm Nicole. In our area right now, we're still pretty dry. Maybe a sprinkle or two trying in the far southeastern parts of our area, maybe a little bit more approaching the I-10, I-75 exchange. And as we go through the morning, I do think we're going to find some showers trying to move into our area. The best rains are still down near the I-4 corridor. There are some up I-75 with some of those outer bands, and some of those will try to spiral through our area later this morning too. But our best window for the most rain is going to come this afternoon when that core gets closer and closer and eventually moves through our area. Now, we still have tropical storm warnings for much of the region. I mean, for Franklin, for Liberty, for Gadsden County, and all areas in South Georgia, we've got these tropical storm warnings, which means we expect tropical storm-like conditions. It's going to be windy, it's going to be rainy around here. I know a lot of us immediately conjure up thoughts of Hurricane Michael, and we're just recently seeing all those pictures from Hurricane Ian. This is not that. It's not that by a long shot. This is a day of wind and rain, and it's a good day for things to be shut down and people to stay off the roads and home, but it is not even close to some of those other large hurricanes that we've had in recent memory. Now, this was a hurricane overnight for a while, and then as it's made landfall near Vero Beach earlier this morning, already starting to weaken. Can you see how it sort of just jogs to the north once it was interacting with the Grand Bahama yesterday? That was really important to me to see what kind of path we were going to take with this. The more it was able to move south and west, the more I thought that it could get across the peninsula and back out into the Gulf, where it would have a lot more vim and vigor by the time it got here. But the fact that it's moving a little bit more north, and it started to do that sooner, tells me it's going to stay over land more, where it will weaken more. Those waters, that's the fuel for these systems, and when it gets cut off from that fuel source, it's really hard for these things to maintain strength. And this wasn't one of those really tightly packed, well-defined core. This was kind of a sloppy core from the get-go, so this one should be able to weaken a little bit faster and a little bit sooner now that it's going to be over land. Of course, we'll watch and we'll see how it does. These things are going to do what they're going to do. But with that cone sliding a little bit more east, I think the story for us means more of our area stays off of that eastern side, and that means the I-75 corridor, the I-95 corridor are going to get the bigger rounds of rain and wind. And I do think this will continue to weaken a little bit sooner. So by the time it gets to our area, it will be weaker now than maybe thought yesterday. And even yesterday, we weren't thinking it was going to be super strong by the time it got here. And then it will rapidly weaken as it moves up into parts of South Georgia by tonight and in the overnight period. Here's what it looks like on the radar and satellite. And yeah, there are some of those showers trying to move into our area, but we still had all that drier air from yesterday. It's got to get gobbled up by all the moisture. So really, the big rains are across the peninsula right now. Futurecast is going to try to bring some of those showers up through our area, by 10, 11 o'clock. And I do think the southern and eastern areas are going to see the rains first and can get it by 10, 11 o'clock. Some of us might not get wet before lunchtime. And then as the core itself gets here later this afternoon and this evening, that's when we're going to have the better chances to get those heavier rounds of rain and wind. Think of it as rain coming in waves and bursts of wind. Don't think of it as it's going to be really, really hard wind and really, really hard rain all day, because it's not going to be that way. Now, as we get through tonight and tomorrow, it moves away. We bring in drier air, cooler air, and things clear up for what should be a pretty nice setup. What kind of rainfall are we talking about here? Well, yesterday was starting to lean towards that 2 to 4 inch region-wide kind of rain, maybe some spots getting more. I still think some of the higher end areas will be in that 2 to 4 inch range. But maybe a lot of us are now slide back to 1 to 3 inches, which would be real beneficial rain for a lot of the area. And could some spots get a little bit more than that? Absolutely, in some of these downpours. And I still think with the ground being as dry and as hard as it is, that water's going to have a difficult time running off or being absorbed, so we could still have some flooding issues this afternoon. Let's talk about the winds. We get through most of the day today, and I still feel like we're going to be in that 15 to 30 mile per hour sustained wind range, which is a little bit more than it was yesterday. But it's not going to be those images we conjure up of hurricanes and all those crazy winds bending palm trees. Now, it will still be breezy. Hopefully we cleaned up all the debris in the yard, and we made sure that we had all the toys and stuff brought inside so nothing's blowing around the yard. I saw a bunch of tree crews yesterday making sure the power lines were being protected. That was great to see. And hopefully we don't lose power in many spots. But when you're getting winds sustained for a 1 minute average, 30, 35 miles per hour, That's enough to knock power out, and we're going to see some gusts that do get into those tropical storm categories up over 39 miles per hour. So that's where the tropical storm warning comes in. So it will still be windy today. It will still be wet today. But remember, this is not Hurricane Ian or Hurricane Michael. It's not that kind of thing. This is a day of wind and a day of rain. And it's a good day to be inside and let it blow through. What are we looking at this morning? Most of our winds are in that 5 to 15 mile per hour range, like they were yesterday, maybe up to about 20, which was windy yesterday, right? It's going to be the same today and maybe a little bit more. Temperature-wise, we're still in the 60s. I don't think they're going to move a whole lot. Maybe we get into the 70s this afternoon with a little surge of that warmer air. We've got the tropical storm warning. Today is not the day to be taking the boats out. Probably not even tomorrow, too. Still going to be breezy out there. The rain starts from south and east and spreads north and west. I think this afternoon we're looking at low 70s with the waves of rain. I'm putting the rain chance at 100%. I'd be surprised if anybody doesn't get wet today. Tonight it's mid-60s. The rain ends late, likely after midnight, a little bit later than that the farther north you are. Veterans Day tomorrow should see improving conditions and hopefully starting early. Looks like a really nice November weekend. Maybe a little cool with those daytime highs that by Sunday could struggle to get back to 70. And you do see a 38 there for Monday morning. So we still have some cool on the way. Of course we do. It's November. It's supposed to be cool.